Hello and welcome to another Craft Your Stash show where this one, I have to say I'm pretty excited about this one because for this show we're going to spend a whole hour on a range of different Spectrum Noir techniques. So perhaps you're a brand new crafter looking to delve into the world of colouring or ink pads, or maybe you're a crafter that's been crafting for many years but you just want to try a brand new crafting medium when it comes to those Spectrum Noir goodies, then this certainly is the show for you. We're going to cover everything from pens to ink pads and everything in between as well. So hopefully it will give you lots of inspiration to get crafting throughout the years, and you'll have plenty of ideas to get playing with. But of course we need somebody to provide a lot of those ideas. It's not just me that's a big fan of Spectrum Noir. I know he loves his Spectrum Noir as well. It is of course Craig. Hello Craig, what have we got lined up?
Oh, well, we're going to be doing some colouring. We're going to be delving into the world of colour, Lily, when it comes to, well, at least some of the basics. Because, you know, we do have quite a big plethora of different colouring ranges. But we're going to start with the good old traditional tri-blends. I like my tri-blends. I know Lily's a big fan of the tri-blend brushes, although we will have a very quick look and talk you around them. But we're going to do a little colour when it comes to the tri-blends. The Tricolour Aqua, one's alcohol, one's water-based. And then what we're going to do as well is we're going to be having a look at our three main ink pads that we do within our Harmony range. It's water reactive, that is quick dry, and it's also the pigment. And guess what? No surprise, Lily, we're going to be featuring my favourite stamp.
How did I know?
When it comes to doing the colouring and even some of the inking and stamping.
Oh wow, well I have to say, I for one am delighted that that lovely stamp is making an appearance. I mean, it's no surprise, neither to me, to you guys at home as well. But like Craig says, we are going to start off with some of these fantastic tri-blend pens. Now I don't want to go into too much of detail of these, I know Craig is going to do that when we come into the first demonstration, but these are the exact pens that we're going to be using, our tri-blend pens. These are alcohol-based pens. They come in a range of different styles. You can buy the pens individually. Here you can see the packs of 6. We do actually bring to you a larger box of 24 pens as well, so you've got lots of different options of how you can actually get a hold of your fantastic tri-blend pens. These are ones with the bullet nib. Like Craig said, I have to say I do love the ones with a brush nib, but you've got options for all different sorts of colouring. They're all going to work in pretty much the same way in terms of that alcohol ink technology, but this is what we're going to be focusing on first of all, our tri-blends. We're going to start right back to basics like Craig says. We're going to get over to Craig now. He's going to show us exactly how we use our amazing tri-blend pens.
Absolutely. So what we've got is we've kind of got two forums here. So we're going to use the good old traditional tri-blends, but we'll talk about the tri-blend brush. Now the way that I like to explain these ones, Lily, tri-blends are off the back of classics. Your tri-blend brushes are off the back of your Illustrator pens.
Oh,
That's the way that I like to think about it here. So what you do with your classics, you're going to be doing with your tri-blends. What you do with your tri-blends, you're going to do with your classics, because they've got finer bullet nib there. And we'll talk you through that in a moment. But the reason I like to refer to these when it comes to your Illustrator pens, and that is because these have the brush nibs. So what you do and what you like to do when it comes to colouring with your illustrators, that is essentially what you're going to be doing with your tri-blend brushes. The way you lay down the pens from the illustrators is how you lay down the pens from, of course, the actual tri-blend brushes. It's all about that smooth brushstroke action that you've got here. But when it comes to both of them, it is about the colour, and it is about one colour family, but then you've got the 3 different shades within the pen. So if we look at the good old traditional tri-blends, it's my favourite. What we've got, this one is the magenta blend. I've got light, I've got medium, and I've got dark. So that's light, that is medium, and then that is dark. Now when it comes to the colours, the shade, this magenta blend within the tri-blend is the exact same magenta that's in the classics. It's the exact same magenta that's in your tri-blend brushes. The colours, the shades are exactly the same. It's just about how you lay that colour down. How you colour is going to be slightly different. So if we take, of course, our tri-blend, what we're going to do is we're going to go in with our stamp here. So you can be using whatever stamp that you want. Key thing with these ones as well, both of these ones, these are alcohol based, so this is when you're going to need your alcohol proof ink pad.
Okay.
Now we do have 4 within the range. We have our Noir Black, we have our Flagstone. They're kind of the 2 that I use the most. We do have Pebble, we do have Rustic Brown. They're good for nature, maybe your florals as well, but you've got that option. But we've got our Noir Black there, so anything when you're colouring with alcohol, alcohol pens, alcohol mediums, this is when you're going to use your alcohol proof. Now I'm going to bring in my stamping platform. Now it purely depends on the size of the stamp as to what one you want to use. This one can be a little bit tight for our 4x4. It's doable just if you twist and turn. More space if you use a 6x6, or of course our larger stamping platform or our rocker blocks that's been talked about in previous Craft Your Stash shows. So we're going to move that away because this is our stencil and stamping platform. I'm going to take that block out the way. And then cardstock. When it comes to alcohol colouring or even watercolouring, it really is vital that you use the right cardstock. So whether you are using Nina cardstock or a purpose alcohol proof cardstock, that's what you're going to want to use. It's all to do with the way that the fibres are, how it's created. It's incredibly smooth. If you don't have our Nina branded alcohol cardstock, then as long as you've got a really good quality, maybe round about 300 GSM white cardstock, it can be less. The whole point is it's really good, it's really nice, it's really smooth for you to colour onto, and that will serve the purpose. So I'm just going to pop it onto my stamping platform, whatever stamping platform that you are using, and we're going to ink up as normal. So we're just going to press that into place, and then at this point what we're going to do is we're going to ink up. So we're just going to then stamp and colour our stamp by covering it with the ink. So ink up.
Now for new crafters, Craig, they might be looking at your stamp and thinking, oh, it looks a bit, is it mucky, is it stained? Is that a problem having it like coloured like that, or is it not something we need to worry about?
So it's one of those, what you want to do is you want to make sure that, and I should be practicing what I preach here, you want to make sure that it is clean each time, at least where the residue ink is taken off. This is where we've got our stamp cleaner. You can use our stamp cleaner, of course. What you will find, for instance, in this situation, depending on the ink pad that you use, it can stain your ink or stain your stamp. That's absolutely normal. As long as you clean it with any residue ink, even if you use like a fuchsia and it stains it a fuchsia colour, as long as all that remaining ink is off, you're still going to get a nice crisp outline no matter what colour you use. So yeah, make sure you're cleaning it afterwards just to get a really nice base when it comes to applying the ink with the stamp. But you can see there, really crisp, really clean, and that's what your alcohol proof ink pad is going to do, irrelevant of the shade of the ink pad. So now that we've got, of course, our stamp ready to go, what you're going to want to do, another vital point, Lily, with alcohol colouring, is you want to take a bit of scrap cardstock.
Okay.
Now, when I say scrap, it can literally be scrap cardstock. It could be an envelope, it could be a bill, whatever it is, as long as that it's got something that is porous underneath. So what you can do is you can take your ink, going back on things like that, printer paper, anything like that, as long as it is a paper or a card. Doesn't matter about the thickness, the quality. What I would say, the most inexpensive or waste, use that. Don't use your good stuff.
Absolutely.
And that is because the nature of the beast with alcohol colouring, Lily, it will bleed.
Yeah.
It's going to happen, and in actual fact you want it to happen, because that's when you can start to build and blend the layers together. Now, if I start to colour, I'm going to get a really nice blend in a moment, but what could happen is as it bleeds through, that ink, that colour from the pen is going to bleed through onto my glass mat, which is a non-porous surface. So any of that residue ink, what could happen, is then soak back up into my image, and your lovely blended coloured image is going to start to bleed out because all that excess ink has then been bled back into your cardstock. So you want to make sure when you go to colour, you're going to take a porous surface. So cardstock, inexpensive card, bill, envelope, copier paper, printer paper, anything like that, just so that's going to capture any residue ink, and it's going to capture it and stop it from sucking back in to your image. So going in with our pen here, this is the point now. I'll do it slightly different to Lily. Lily, I'll do it slightly different to Debbie and other Debbie as well. The end result's the same. Have a little bit of a play and see what look you prefer. Now, what I mean by that, some will go straight in with that dark to start with and then go dark, medium, light to get that nice blend. I kind of go the opposite. I do dark, medium and light, However, I also start with the light. I like to, it's kind of like priming my cardstock. Now, what I mean by that is if I go in with the light to start with, and it just happens that this stamp has these highlight lines there. So it's a nice little guide for you to know where that dark shade of the petal is going to be. So we're just going to go in with our light tone to start with, and I'm just creating that kind of foundation that I like to speak about, so that when we come with the dark and the medium, that's going to then sit and then start to blend on top of that alcohol base that we've already coloured. So let's go in here.
And in terms of laying down the colour, do you sort of use certain directional brush strokes, or do you just fill in the area however you see fit?
So, good question, depends on the pen you're using. So your tri-blend or classics, what I would do is circular motions, as I'm doing now. When it comes to things such as your tri-blend brushes, yes, you can lay the colour down flat, so just go in, little strokes. The whole purpose of your tri-blend brushes is to get that flicking action. You're building up the blend by that flicking action. So a really good question, but yeah, tri-blend, anything that's like a finer bullet nib, Lily, I'll tend to go in with circular motions. If you want to go long stretches, you can do. You're not going to get any bleeding or any blemishes or any harsh lines, anything like that. This is just one of those where, again, it's going to be a personal preference.
It reminds me a little bit, Craig, of, you know, when you're inking and using your ink pads and you sort of use the blending tool in circular motions, a little bit like that to get that sort of smooth lay down.
Exactly like that for sure, yeah. And that also goes to show if you want to use the pens just as one tone colour, you can do that. You don't have to use the 3-tone if you don't want to. But now what I'm going, this is now, I've laid down the light tone to start with, that's it done. Now this is when I'm going to go dark, medium to light again. So I'm going to go into those dark shades, and for this stamp, I'm just kind of already following, roughly, the highlight lines that are already there. So I'm just going to come down with that dark tone, circular motions again. We're still saturating our cardstock, but that's because we've got our card underneath that's going to protect. So we're now going to go into the light tone. I've done the dark, we're going to go into the mid-tone. This is when we're now doing just a very light crossover. So I'm not going completely over my dark tone. What I'm doing is I'm just crossing over ever so slightly. And what I'm doing is I'm blending, and this is why I like to do the light tone to start with. I'm now blending that dark tone. Instead of just into a piece of cardstock, I'm blending it in to an alcohol layer of colour. You'll start to see the difference already within a moment or two. And what I'll do is I'll come down maybe about 2/3 of the way. Now you can go a lot darker if you want, you can go a lot lighter if you want. And then where I finish with that mid-tone, I'm going to do the same. Going to go back in with that light tone to finish off and just start to blend. If you want to go back, you can still do that at this point. Alcohol colouring, I would do small sections at a time. So do, for me, a petal at a time. If you were to go over a large area and a large surface, for instance, with the light tone to start with, what's going to happen, by the time you come to blend, Lily, that alcohol will evaporate it, and it makes it really hard to blend. So therefore, little sections at a time, and then you'll see the blend that you're starting to get already, but notice the bleed through. It's starting to come through any more that is being captured onto my card. If it didn't have the card, that would go onto my glass mat, and potentially it would then get sucked back up into my image. It's only going to take a few moments or two for that alcohol to continue to evaporate and then therefore get that beautiful blend. But go section by section, you can see within the alcohol pen and the magenta, you get a really lovely blend.
You certainly do. Wow. Just with one of those alcohol pens there, one of those tri-blends, it allows you to give you that beautiful blend from the light, the medium, all the way to the dark, to give you that seamless blend without the need for lots of different pens. You don't need to work out which pens are going to mix and match in the same colour family. You've got it all contained within that one pen. And that really is the beauty of tri-blends. They're great if you're a beginner crafter and you're not quite sure about colour theory, you're not quite sure where to start. They're perfect for that. But if you've been crafting for many years like Craig has, and he's pretty much a colouring expert, I would certainly say, then these are still going to be perfect ones to go to time and time again, because it just makes it so super easy. There's no sort of guessing. It takes out all of that guesswork. You've got it all contained within that one pen. So you've got your light, medium, your dark to give you that perfect blended finish result each and every single time. Now those are of course alcohol-based pens, but we're going to switch tack a little bit for the next little technique demo with Craig. We're actually going to move on to watercolour. We've got a range of different watercolour-based mediums here at Crafter's Companion within that Spectrum Noir range. And what we're going to start off with, a little bit like your tri-blends, but on the water-based side, this is going to be a little bit of an introduction to your fabulous tricolour aqua pens. They come in a range of different formats. You can see here in the box of 3, you've got your light, different colours within there, but a little bit different in terms of the way that these are formulated. Not your light, your medium, your dark, a little bit different in terms of how those colours are being put together. But you can see on the reverse there all of those different colours, and I know in just a few moments time Craig is going to show you lots of different ways you can use these, and a little bit of an introduction to our fantastic tricolour aqua pens.
Definitely. And with these one, this is where we're now going to change to our waterproof ink pad, because the pens are water based. Now if you were to stamp with a alcohol-proof ink pad on this occasion, you will start to see that the outline will bleed out. So this is why it is really important you use the correct ink pad.
Okay.
So I'm using my waterproof ink pad here. Same as before, Lily. You've still got the 4 colours. You've got Noir Black, you've got your Flagstone, you've got your Pebble and the Rustic Brown. The difference is they're within that waterproof. So I've got one of my pens here. So this one that we've got here is the Rich Floral. And exactly as you said, I'm going to bring back in a tri-blend, because the tri-blend is one colour family, but then you've got the 3 shades. So you've got light, medium and dark. The difference with the tricolour aqua, it's not one colour family in 3 shades. What it is, it's 3 colours that have been put together that complement together.
Okay.
So you can still make your own, create your own, and then blend your own. However, these 3 together are there to complement each other. It's not that they're in a specific colour family. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in with our stamp once again. Now this time, you don't want to use anything like a Nina or a Smooth. You want to then take a watercolour cardstock.
Okay.
A little bit more texture when it comes to this watercolour card, therefore it's going to hold the water. It's also going to enable you to blend it without it becoming really fibrous. And all that you need to do is just pop it onto a stamping platform, whichever one that you're going to use, and then we're going to do what we've done before, but this time we're using that waterproof ink pad. We're going to ink up, we're going to give it a really nice press of colour, making sure that we've got a nice coverage, working that in. And then of course with using a solid stamping platform, if you do miss a bit, it means you can go back, reapply, repress and get that fine outline. So let's move all of that out the way and let's turn that one around and let's press that in. Now I know this is all about stamping, not the stamping platform, but let's release that, Lily. Let's move it, and I've missed a bit. So this is where, what I would say, and I would always say is, I know I gave this a really good coverage of ink. So therefore, what I would say, don't apply any more ink just yet. What to do is go back and press back in. And the reason being is if I were to straight away add more ink, that then means I'm going to have some areas that's going to be even darker than the layer before. So therefore you can see, perfect impression, and that's because the ink was on the stamp, I just hadn't pressed the pressure enough. So now that we've got that perfect impression and that lay down of colour, we can then move all that out the way. And at this point, if you want to put a piece of card underneath, you can do, but now it's not necessary to actually do that. Sometimes it's handy because you're working with water potentially, but it's not necessary. So let's go in. I've got some water here. You can use a paintbrush and water. You can use a water brush, clear sparkle overlays, anything like that that you can be using. And the great thing with Tricolour Aqua, because these are water-based, Lily, great one for the kids. And that is because you can then use them with the kids, and if they do get them on the clothes or something like that, then it's going to wash off. But also, you can use these as standalone colours without using any water.
Okay.
So yes, we say they are water-based and we're going to do a little bit of blending, but if you just want to use these as a block colour, no water, no nothing, just lay that smooth colour down. You can absolutely do that, and it's a great way to colour. Nice laid down, smooth colour. Then there's the way that you can be playing and working with the water. A couple of ways here. You can, if you want, go direct onto the stamped image to start with, as I'm doing now, and then go in with your brush and water and start to drag that out. You can start to drag that out. Now, Lily, I struggle sometimes doing it this way. I prefer to go on my glass mat first, and I'm going to show you that just in a second. I find I get much more of a better blend and an even blend, but that's just my personal opinion and my personal comfort levels. So let's pull and drag, so we're starting to get a blend. If I wanted to go in and add a little bit more depth, I can do. What I would do, I'd let that water settle to start with, and then I would go back with the ink, add it underneath, or you can go onto your glass mat, or a craft mat, or a tile, or a Gemini plate, something that's non-porous, and then start to then lift that colour up, and then go into the detail of the stamp. Because they are complementary colours that will work together, we could go into the hot pink and then bring in the purple and then even the heather. Because this is a different one, what about going right in there to create that little bit of a depth and blend? I'm going to take all of that colour off, so I've only got a light damp brush, and then even start to pull that out, that you'll start to then see you're getting that lovely blend underneath. Or, as I said, the way that I do prefer to do it, and that is, let's just lay some fresh colour down here. So give that a scribble onto our glass mat. If you've already done a little bit of scribbling here, and say for instance, let's say I've been playing with that, Lily, and that's all nice and watery, full of colour. Now say you wanted to add more, don't pop the brush back into that little pool of puddle of water, because that little pool or puddle of water can actually soak back in to the nib, and then therefore it's going to dilute it slightly. So if you ever need to add more, always go onto a fresh, dry piece of your glass mat or craft mat to stop it from affecting and diluting your tricolour
Great
aqua.
tip, that. Great tip.
And then this is where, and this is the way that I tend to do my watercolour in Lily, is I go onto my glass mat to start with, and then I'll go in a little bit, actually like the way that I do my tri-blends. I'll go in and start to just kind of lay down a base tone to start with. If I want to build up more depth from that same colour, I can do. If I want to go in with the next one, I can do. So it's just about picking that up, following that detail, nudging it into the highlight lines. I'm always going in and taking that excess colour off, taking as much water off as I can. I personally don't like to use maybe like a kitchen cloth of that, because that just dries it out completely. I want to leave just a little bit of dampness on that brush, and then we can then start to pull that one out. So just dabbing that to the edge, and because we've got the three complete colours, we could go in and even make that even darker, Lily, by just touching with the nib of my paintbrush into there. And then if you want to still blend more out, you can absolutely do that just by pulling that one in. And the great thing with your tricolour aqua pens is that you've got that different ways in which you can form them to your card. You can either go direct. If you go direct, wouldn't necessarily be blending with them direct. Blending you're going to do with water, and then you're going to go into the detail of your stamp. Or like I done with that one, what we could do, Lily, is just use one colour, no blending, no nothing, just going straight in. We've used that right ink pad. There's not going to be any bleeding from the outer lines, and just use it as a base way to start to colour. So a few ways in which you can then start to lay down your tricolour aqua pens, being that water base, three colours, but they're not three colours from the one colour family, they're three different colour families, however they are colours that are going to complement each other.
They certainly are. What a super, super versatile medium when it comes to your colouring. If you're looking for a great gateway into watercolouring, perhaps you're a little bit more daunted by those watercolour palettes or watercolour paints in the tubes, then this is a great way to start that watercolouring journey. They're perfect for crafting on the go. All you need to do is bring with you, of course, your image that you're going to be colouring, bring with you your pens and perhaps a water brush, and you're good to go. You could be painting at the caravan, it could be on the train, it could be on the beach, it could be anywhere at all. It makes it a great on-the-go crafty colouring medium. Like Craig says, these are super versatile in the way that you've got the 3 different complementary colour tones within each and every single one of those pens there. Although they're different colour families, they will harmonise and complement each other absolutely perfectly. And you can see in this one pack alone here, we have got 3 different pens, but of course 3 different colours in each, which gives you 9 different colourways. So really you're getting tons and tons of different colours. And if you think about each and every single one of those colours that you're seeing there can be diluted, it can be with water like we've just seen there, or it could be like Craig's already mentioned, you could be diluting those with your clear sparkle pen. So all those colours are then going to be turning into almost like glitter paints, which gives you even more options besides from just the colours that you see there on the packet. A great way into watercolouring and a great way to expand your crafting, whether you're colouring stamped images, whether you're creating backgrounds, and much more besides. Now, that's a little bit of introductions to some of our alcohol-based pens, some of our water-based pens as well, but I'm going to change tack once again a little bit now. I'm going to go on to some of our ink pads, and perhaps one of our most popular, I know it's one of my personal favourite ink pads, is our water reactive ink pads, and Craig's going to give you a little introduction as to how you can use those fabulous Spectrum Noir water reactive ink pads.
These are really nice. I like to use my water reactive predominantly to do a blend, because you can get a really nice blend with them, seamless blend, but you can stamp with them. You can stamp with them and you can start to draw the colour out. Or what you can also do as well, Lily, is what we've done with the Tricolour Aqua, where we added it to the glass mat. You can do that with your water reactives as well. Turn them around, show you in a moment, but just smudge it into the glass mat so you've got that pool of colour, and then you can start to paint with them as well. Many, many other ways that you can use water reactive, hence why they've always been a firm favourite of mine. So I'm going to go in here now, because what I'm going to do is stamp with them and then I'm going to draw that colour out. I'm going to go in with my watercolour card once again, and then what I'm also going to do, just while we're here, I know we've previously, Lily, done a show on the ways that you can do your stamping with the stamping platforms. Just while we're here, mine's just losing its tack.
Okay.
So what I'm doing is, this is just a little wet wipe here. So I'm just going to then make sure, because sometimes you can get glitter, debris, sometimes you can get dust around the house, sometimes you can of course get things such as your powders from your embossing powders.
Yep.
So I'm going to give that a light waft, because it's really important. If you give that a wipe over, give that a wash, let it dry naturally, because this is our large layering and stamping platform. So this is the tack mat. If you try and dry it with a towel or a cloth or a microfiber cloth, any of those little fibres can stick to, of course, the actual cling mat. So just let that dry naturally. That is more than enough now. I can go back. That's now tacking my card, whereas a moment ago it was just moving about. So let's go in here. Let's go in with our orange water reactive. So I'm going to ink up. So every time, whatever ink pad we are using, water reactive, whether it's pigment, quick dry, whether it's going to be our waterproof, whether it's alcohol proof, it's all applied in the same way. So we're just inking up with this orange here, and then we're going to stamp it out, and then we're just going to press that into place. What I am going to do for this one is I'm going to do it a few times, because I want my outlines to be quite juicy, Lily, so that I can pull the colour out. So we've got that nice impression. Usually our water reactive wouldn't be the one that we tend to go for when it comes to stamping for an image, but when you're going to draw the colour out, then it is a really, really nice one to be using. So let's go in again. You can just do this once if you want to. The whole reason I'm doing it a few times is so we've got a nice thick orange outline. Thick line gives me more orange colour to play with. I'm going to do it once more as well.
Doesn't it look striking in the orange? It's lovely.
It does.
Really like that.
It really, really does. So let's go in here.
It's a bit of a contrast when we've seen the past couple in your lovely deep sharp black. It's really refreshing to see it in the orange.
It's nice, yeah. Yeah, it really is that, as you say, refreshing as well. And it's nice just to have a little play and experiment with, of course, your ink pads. So we've now got our orange. We've stamped out our image, And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in with my water. So I'm just going to go in with my water here, and what I'm doing is I'm using the colour that's already here, Lily. So if we start to draw, what I'm going to do is let's take, I've still got a little bit of that purple within my paintbrush. So let's just give that a good clean off, and then we can then go in, and then we can start to pull that orange out, because it's a water-based ink pad. Start to go in and then draw that orange out. And if you're using an orange, it's actually ending up going to give you like a sepia look. So you've got that solid outer orange line, but then what you'll start to see, yeah, look at that, you start to get that sepia look.
That looks great.
It's just about drawing, and you don't have to be precise with the lines. As long as you're staying within the lines, then you can do it really quickly, like I'm doing here. You can then go in and start to pull them. Now you're not going to get your solid foundation of colour like you've got with the outline, but then this is where what you can do is you can come along and essentially do what we've done with the tricolour aqua, and that's lay a little bit of orange to the side, which we'll do in a minute. But look how cool this looks when it comes to your water reactives. Just pulling those colours out, agitating the ink for us to get that sepia look. Who would have thought that that's just come from one impression? I know I've done it 3 times, but just one impression, one stamp, one coloured ink. But if I do want to make it deeper, then I can go in, and then you can just go flat onto the glass mat. So all that I'm doing is I'm just giving that a press down onto my glass mat here. Now I've got a nice little pool of orange that I can play with. So dip my paintbrush in, and then I can start to pick that up. Now if I want to intensify underneath, we can go in and intensify that, and then maybe come about 2/3 of the way. I'm just going to take that excess off on my dry glass mat there, and then what we can do is start to then drag and pull all of that out. And now that I'm doing this, Lily, I'm now thinking to myself, why do I not do this more often at home?
I'm thinking the same thing myself, Craig. It looks absolutely incredible, doesn't it? What a great technique.
It is. It's really nice. And it's really nice to see how you can get a quick effect. But yes, our water reactives, our pigment, our quick dries, they all do their own thing, and it's great that we've got 3 shades within each colour. But look at this, just one colour, and that is it. Look at the different shades of orange and tans and sepias that I'm already getting just from that one orange. And let's be honest, it was a bright orange. It's not as if it's a light or mediocre orange. It is a bright orange. So we can go in, and then we'll come back to this bit just in a second here, but say I wanted to add a little bit more depth and detail right to the tip underneath. What I would do, I'd let that water settle just for a moment. If I've saturated it, if I go back with my paintbrush and colour, what's going to happen, it's kind of going to be like a little firework explosion of colour. So just let that water settle for you to build on top. But if I come in and then start to draw that one out like so, and then if I want to, same goes for before, don't pop your ink pad in the little pool of water. Just go into a dry side there. You don't need much, but if I go back into here, and then, yes, I'm using the one colour, but then come in with other colours, Lily. So if you want maybe like a deep Bordeaux to go underneath.
That would look great, actually. A really deep red would look
brilliant.
It would,
wouldn't it? But then if I just work my way just underneath here, and then even just underneath into there, and I'm going to stop because I could keep going and going and going like so, and that is just from one ink pad, which was water reactive. Most of you, like me, will use it to blend with because they are the best ones to blend with, but you can still stamp with them, you can still draw the colour out, and then you can still paint with them all at the same time.
Wow, this is what Craft Your Stash is all about. I'm like Craig, I love my water reactive ink pads, but I'm pretty much guilty of using them for blending, using them for layering. I never ever do that technique that Craig's just shown us. So it's great to have that refresher, great to have that spark of inspiration to get you using your crafty stash in different ways. Now we will be back in just a few moments with even more inspiration, but we'll give you just a few minutes to have a little look around the website. We've got tons of Spectrum Noir goodies over on the website for you guys to have a little look at, and we'll be back in just a few moments for even more inspiration.
My day-to-day life is pretty busy in work. Literally, I get in the door, I check my polls, I then check what I've got to demo, I then get everything ready, and it's just busy, busy, busy from there. I have a meeting with the producer, the director, we get then sorted for the shows, talk to the presenter. Depends what side I'm on. I mean, sometimes I'm doing the presenting side, sometimes I'm doing the demonstration side, and I love both. It's actually who I get to work with. I can't say no more than that other than anybody that works here. We are a big family. We're so super friendly. I love Ben. I love it when we work together. And I don't mean that I don't love anyone else. It's the fact that Ben is the presenter and then I'm demonstrating and we just have this great rapport. Same with Craig, same with Deb, same with the whole team. So yeah, the best part of the day is just getting to work with the best people in the industry. Oh, a night out. In the morning. Oh, none. I only drink water. Oh, well, I'm cutting out sugar, so it's got to be savoury. Masterclass. Oh, I can't leave the house without my lipstick. Oh, I love a baked potato. I relax, so I literally drive home normally and then I relax.
Day to day looks like, on a normal day when I'm working from home, get up, breakfast, quick phone call with my daughter, and then I'm up in the craft room and I spend all my time in the craft room. If it's spending a day with the grandkids, that's it. That's my best part of the day, just spending time with family and those gorgeous little grandkids of mine. The best part of the day when I'm at work is when I go on air, because I absolutely love it. Both. I prefer a shower in the morning. I feel fresher. I feel that I can tackle my day. However, depending on how that day's been, I also would have a double shower, so I'd have one in the morning and one at night too. Absolutely, 100% coffee. Will always be coffee. And flavoured coffee is my favourite at the moment. Dare I say it's a full English breakfast, the full works, the beans, the tomatoes, the bacon, the sausage, and everything else that goes with a traditional English breakfast. Craft along. Every day of the week. I absolutely love going through the stages from the start of a project to the end of a project. So craft along is definitely my favourite choice. I can't leave without my lipstick. It's a given thing. I once didn't have a lipstick on me and Leanne helped me out that day. Kick off the shoes, sit down for a couple of minutes, just gather my thoughts and then grab my tea.
Hello and welcome back to Craft Your Stash, where today we've been focusing on some of our Spectrum Noir techniques with some of our most loved pens, ink pads and more. And next up we're going to have another look at one of our classic ink pads, I like to say. It is our fantastic quick dry ink pads, and Craig's going to show us now quite how brilliant these ink pads really are.
I am indeed. We're not going to spend too long on the quick dry because, you know, there is some ways in which you can use them additionally, but the great thing with the quick dries, Lily, is all about the layering stencils. So if you've got layering stencils, now we did, of course, the other day do a Craft Your Stash where we featured layering stencils and we used quick dry. So you'll be able to take these shows and bring them together for them to all work together. But what is really good about the quick dry is the fact that they are quick. Now, when I say they're quick, I do mean that they are quick. So if you have got a lovely little sentiment, little stamp, you're not wanting to colour, you're just wanting to leave it as it is, maybe an outline, as I say, sentiment, something like that's really good. Ink up, press, and then it isn't going to smudge. So if I go in, and this one happens to be crushed velvet. So we're going to go in with the crushed velvet, and we're just going to tap with the colour here. So whether you are layering colour upon colour on your stencils, or if you have buildable layering stamps, sometimes you can get that solid background, you've got the midground, you've got forefront as well. This is when the different shades can work really well together. So what I'm going to do is let's pop our cardstock. Let's see if I've kind of got that. Let's move that along a little bit. And then that's not going to have dried, but let's just go along. Also shows you how juicy you can make it, but it's still not going to bleed with the lines. So we're going to press. Now I'm going to make sure my finger's clean only because I want it to be nice and crisp and clean, and I don't even want you to see any dirty finger marks that it could be. So let's go in.
Oh, wow.
Now
that is quick, Craig.
I'm going hard, and so I'm getting that burn friction within my finger
He's
there.
putting his back into it, blooming heck. Oof.
Look, that's not
Going anywhere.
smudged whatsoever. It is not smudged, it's not smeared, nothing whatsoever. That is how quick it is. That's how good it is when it comes to your sentiments or just an outline. Now, it's very easy to use a small sentiment, Lily, and do that little technique. However, as you guys know at home, larger stamps, they can be easy to smudge and smear. So that is why I've gone in and used, yes, my favourite stamp, but why I'm doing it again, just to show you, once again, no trickery, no nothing. Let's turn that around. Let's press all that in. Let's see how quick we can do that.
Oh.
Not smudging or smearing whatsoever. And this is what I was meaning by I wanted to make sure that my finger wasn't dirty, so it wasn't my finger dirt onto the cardstock. But look at that. Two of them straight away. Doesn't matter, Sam can get as close as he wants on that one there. There is going to be no smudging, no smearing, no nothing. And that is on both of them there.
Wow.
That is how quick that they are. So yes, quick to dry when it comes to your sentiments and your stamps, but this is why they're good, Lily, for layering stamps, but also they're good for your layering stencils because they're not smudging, they're not smearing, and you can get a really nice build up of colour.
Those are absolutely fantastic ink pads. That's all about our quick dry ink pads, and you can see in action quite how quick they are to dry. The clue pretty much is in the name when it comes to our fantastic quick dry ink pads. Now next up we're going to have another look at another of our, I'd sort of call them our top 3 ink pads. We've had our water reactive, we've just had our fantastic quick dry, and next up it's going to be the turn of our opaque pigment ink pads. I know they're a favourite of the Debbies, but Craig's going to show you just how fantastic our opaque pigment ink pads really are.
These are also going to be another good one for stencils if you want to layer up, because you can get the strong build of colour on top of each other. These stencils, these inks, these are what we stay open longer. So that means if you were to do what I done a moment ago with, of course, the actual quick dry, what would happen with the pigment is I'm going to smear that all over the place. They stay wet longer. And the reason being is so that you can still blend with them, you can still paint with them, you can still colour with them, but what you can do is you can go over with your embossing powders. So at Crafter's Companion, we don't actually have like a permanent ink that you can go onto your acetate or anything like that without it smearing. So what you need to do if you're going to be using one of our inks, this is with an embossing powder. You want to set it with an embossing powder, and that's what these can do. Now what these are really good for when it comes to that, if you need that solid outline, Lily, to colour, I call it the bumper bars. Maybe you need that security of the raised outer edge to colour in, to stop any bleeding from inking and forming on the outside. This is when your heat embossing with your powders and your pigment come in a treat. Not only that, instead of having lots and lots and lots of coloured embossing powders, all you really need is just a clear embossing powder, and then use all the colours of your pigment. Every colour of your pigment ink pad that you've got will become coloured with a clear embossing powder.
Oh, wow.
So saves you a bit of money in the long run as well when it comes to embossing powders. So let's just make sure, yep, I'm in the centre here. So we're going to go in with a dark colour. Now, if we are using an embossing powder, what I tend to do is I'll tend to use like a deeper shade. You can use any one that you want. This one just happens to be the Damson Wine here. Now, before we do any heat embossing, what I will do is let's just press that in like so. And I'll give you a little bit of a recap. What you can do with your water reactive that you can also do with your pigment, that is, move that just out of the way for a second. If you come along, you can go in with your water brush and you can start to pull that colour out.
Oh, wow.
So if you want to paint with them and colour with them, you can absolutely do that, no problem at all. You maybe got a little bit more kind of fluidity with the pigment ink because it stays open longer. So you can see you can still, no problem whatsoever, go in, paint with them, and also do what we've done with the water reactive. You can dab them onto your glass mat and get a real strong intensity should you wish. So
that's amazing.
Really good with your pigment. But as I was saying, apart from layering with your stencils, if you're familiar with our layering stencil set, then you'll know how good they are to then layer up with. But let's go in with just some heat embossing. So let's pop another bit of cardstock here, and then I'm going to go and let's just re-ink once again. So let's go in with our pigment. We're just going to ink up. We're just going to then give that a really good application here. Let's turn that one around. Now this is the sort of stamp you're definitely going to want to wash afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
Just maybe like a baby wipe or lukewarm water under the tap, get all that excess off, and then you're going to be good to go in future. Or of course our stamping cleaning solution. So let's press that in like so. Now if I smudge that with my finger, it will smudge, unlike the quick dry. But what we're going to do, now you can go over with a heat gun and set it, but I'm going to go over with, it just happens to be a black powder that I've got here. It's all that I had to hand, but it's to show you how your powder will stick to your ink. So if you go in with a clear embossing powder, that then means what's going to happen is you're going to have all the different coloured embossing powders from that one. We're going to go in with our heat tool. We're just going to get that going. We're going to get that up to temp. And then when it comes to embossing with your pigment ink pads, any embossing in general, always start at a specific point. As it melts, what you're then going to do is you're going to then move. So visually for me, I can see that it's melting. So I'm just going to move down. As soon as it melts, move. If you stay in the same place while it's melted, what could happen is it could bubble slightly, but it could also scorch your cardstock.
Okay.
So just make sure, and you'll see it in front of you as you're doing it, you'll see it melt and you know just to move on. Don't waft your heat gun. What can happen then is you can actually cause that powder to actually blow off. So therefore, just keep it still. Travel along as it melts. We're moving, and now this is what I class as the bumper bars. Instead of a flat surface to colour, what I've now got is like a 3D raised edge to colour in. So let's just make sure that that is nicely melted. and done. And then what you'll see is that beautiful outline, which was purple when I stamped it just with the pigment, but by changing it to black using the black embossing powder, you can see that difference. And then if you were to do exactly what I was talking about, you could go in, and those little bumper bars are going to hold and capture the ink, and it's going to stop it from bleeding out into other sections, and it also creates that resist because it is a non-porous surface. But if we just start to drag that in there, like so, and there you go, you can see you've got that really, really nice blend there. So that is your 3 different ink pads. So we've gone from the tri-blends. Just shortly, we'll have a little bit of a recap, but the tri-blends, tri-blend aqua pens, we've done water reactive, we've then done our quick dry, we've done our pigment, and honestly, I've only scratched the surface with what you can do with not only the pens, but certainly when it comes to things such as your 3 main ink pads from Harmony.
Absolutely, a great little overview there of some of the fantastic benefits of our opaque pigment ink pads. Love that embossing powder technique. Doesn't matter how many times you've seen it, it never goes old, does it? Lots of inspiration there from our pens to our ink pads, so hopefully it gives you a little bit of an idea of some of the techniques that you can be creating using some of our Spectrum Noir mediums. Of course, like Craig says, it's literally just the tip of the iceberg. There's tons more products within that Spectrum Noir range, tons more techniques, but hopefully just something to get your crafty juices flowing a little bit and give you an idea of some of the sorts of things you can do. And talking of exactly what we've been looking at throughout the show, we're going to go back over to Craig, just have a little recap of exactly the techniques that we've had a look at throughout the course of this 1 hour show.
Absolutely, thanks Lily. Yeah, so we started with our tri-blend pens here, so our alcohol colouring pens that we've got. So that is your 1 colour family, but you've got your 3 shades inside there. We've used our Nina, we've used our alcohol proof, and just showed you and explained with a little bit of cardstock underneath to protect the ink. You can see how you can start to get a really nice blend. We'd done that maybe about 50 minutes ago. You can see that really, really beautiful blend now when it comes to the petal. Then what we've done is we had a little bit of a play when it came to our tricolour aqua pens. So either we went direct, or then we went under the leaf and pulled the colour out, or of course we went onto our glass mat and then we went and painted straight into each section. Because that is water-based, that is where we came along and we used our waterproof, and of course we used our waterproof cardstock as well. So still just another medium where we've only scratched the surface, but at least with the 2 colouring, we've gone in with our alcohol and then we've gone along in with our water base. Then we've gone in to our 3 main ink pads, I say. We do have other ones. We've got our duets, we've got our colour blooms, all of those. But the original ink pads when it comes to our family is of course our water reactive, it's our quick dry, and then it is our pigments here. Still something else where we've only scratched the surface. We've not even talked about techniques such as letterpress techniques with embossing folders. But water reactive, stamp with your water reactive ink pad and pull the colour out with, of course, water in a brush. It could be a water brush, or of course it could be clear sparkle overlays. Pulling that colour out from the lines that you've already stamped with the colour of that one being orange. And if you want to intensify it, go from glass mat in. Quick dry, many ways, certainly when it comes to your stencils, layering stamps, but the great thing with these ones is they are uber quick in drying. Twice I showed you stamping and I could not smudge or smear that with my finger, and I tried very hard, that didn't work. And then we've got our pigment. Pigment, layer colour, layer design on top of each other when it comes to stencil work, or another good one that many people like to use them for is the embossing powder, because your powders will stick to the ink. That doesn't stop there though. You can still go in direct and do the watercolour in. That gives you the bumper bars if you do the heat embossing, so it holds in any colour instead of bleeding out. Or of course you can go pull the colour out from the outline like we did with the water reactive, or go glass mat onto the surface, and that's another way of using them. So 5 main, kind of really, I would say 5 of the main popular colouring mediums when it comes to alcohol, water base, and then our 3 ink pads, and that's just some of what you can do. Just play.
Absolutely, and that's what it's all about, especially when it comes to our fantastic Spectrum Noir techniques. It really is just all about having a play. So whether you want to be using your pens, whether it's your alcohol-based pens, whether it's your water-based pens, whether it's your ink pads, what a fantastic whistle-stop tour of some of the key benefits and some of the key techniques really when it comes to all of those different mediums. So we did start off the hour with these fantastic tri-blend bullet nibs. I know Craig in his demonstration showcased beautifully those bullet nibs, the really fine points that you have on each and every single one of those nibs. But don't forget as well, alongside your tri-blends, of course I have to bring them in because after all they are one of my favourites, the tri-blend brush pens. Exactly the same formulation in terms of having your light, your medium and your dark from the same colour family within one pen. But the difference with these is you've got that buttery soft, lovely quality brush nib on all three of those different nibs that you've got within the one pen. Great for flicking techniques. It could be grass if you're creating a wildlife scene. It could be if you're creating hair. It could be fur on little furry creatures. Great for all those different techniques. Same sort of colours that you've got within your tri-blend regular or your tri-blend bullets, but that different format in terms of your brush nibs. Of course, there's nothing stopping you from using the same ones alongside each other in the same image. So you could be colouring parts of the image with your tri-blend brush and other parts of the image using your tri-blend bullet nibs. With them both being alcohol based, there's nothing stopping you doing that at all. So great to be mixing and matching those to get different techniques and different effects. Then after we had a little look at our fantastic alcohol base, we went on to our water base, and for me these are a great gateway into your watercolour. And if you're a little bit daunted by a watercolour palette or watercolour paints, these are a great one to go for. Similar sort of idea as your tri-blend alcohol based, but instead of the same colour family in one pen, you've got three different colour families, three different complementary shades that are going to work together perfectly, but give you even more options when you start to dilute these with water, when you start to bring in perhaps your clear sparkle pens, perhaps your other sorts of different techniques like Craig's showing you, just using these as they are straight from the pen, it's still going to look absolutely perfect. Then of course we went on to all of those ink pads, and like we said, really just scratching the surface of the different sorts of ink pads, the three main ones within our Spectrum Noir Harmony range. So hopefully it's giving you guys at home lots of inspiration, lots of ideas to start to get crafting. Perhaps it's items you already got in your crafty stash, maybe you've got tons of ink pads that you don't make great use of, or perhaps you're a little bit like me, you tend to use the same technique over and over again. I really hope that this show has inspired you as to some different techniques you can have a play with. Thank you so much, Craig. It's been inspirational as ever. For me, that top tip has got to be watercolouring with the water reactives. I hope you guys at home are going to be trying that one as well. And hopefully you'll be tuning into our next Craft Your Stash shows. As always, lots to learn, lots of different techniques, lots of things to revisit, lots of things to inspire you, and hopefully get you crafting over the months and year to come. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.